Hey guys, welcome back to Seller Sessions. This week we've got Franz from Selix. Franz, do you want to get a little bit of background on yourself?
Sure. So hey to everyone. Thanks, Zane, for having me on the show. I'm very excited. So my name is Franz. I'm the founder of Selix. Selix is an all-in-one software for Amazon sellers. Actually, we've been one of the very first softwares out there in the Amazon space. So we launched already, I think, 3 years ago now, soon. So I'm not a seller myself. I need to emphasize this. I know that specifically in the US, a lot of tools are run by sellers themselves. I feel it's a huge conflict of interest, so we've decided not to actively sell products on Amazon. So that's pretty much it from my side.
Fantastic. And today, guys, basically what we're going to talk about is cross-border PPC. We know that there's that kind of barrier with language, especially if you're selling across the 4 or 5 marketplaces in the UK. And like me, I only speak one language, which is from East London, and that's not even in the Queen's English language. So stuff like German and French and Spanish and Italian. This is all the stuff I kind of will struggle with and trying to communicate that to translators. So what we're going to do today is we're going to kind of walk through how a English speaking person, for instance, can deal with different marketplaces. We are going to discuss around the keyword research tool, which is free. It is Fran's business tool, but we're discussing it because of the density of what can be achieved with it. And I wanted to share with the audience to make sure that, one, they can use the tool for free. 2, make the most of it if they're launching into Europe, or maybe they're looking at launching into other marketplaces as well. I think you're covering Europe, the US at the moment, but eventually you're going into Mexico, aren't you?
We have India as well at the moment, and so there's Canada and Mexico missing, and also Japan, which obviously is a bit more complicated in terms of characters, but all the other countries are covered.
Okay, so let's talk about let's go through the keyword search, the keyword stages first, right? So we know that when we're dealing with the problems we deal with internationally, we're dealing with language and cultural differences. In this case, we won't deal with the cultural differences at the moment. We can talk about that a bit later. But let's talk about the starting process. Like, let's talk about Sonar, the tool. What is it on sonar.com, is it?
Yeah, Sonar, sonar-tool.com. That's where you can find the tool. So, I mean, in general, I think I'm always fascinated, especially when I talk to American sellers. They seem to be very, very careful about entering the European market. And the 2 main reasons are, so one, obviously, is taxation. This entire VAT stuff, I think, is very, very troubling for a lot of US sellers. But I think for taxation, there are good solutions out there. And the second point is language, obviously, right? Language barrier. And so this is, where we felt that there is no really good solution out there to do international keyword research specifically for Amazon. There are a ton of tools out there for Google, but not specifically for Amazon. And this is why, we've decided to launch Sonar. Again, it's a free tool, so it's our tool, but it's a free tool. This is why, I feel comfortable sharing it today. And so Sonar essentially is a keyword research tool that is based only on Amazon, right? So we have a total of roughly 180, 190 million keywords across all the marketplaces that we're covering. So those are all the 5 European marketplaces plus the US at this point, and India. So 180 million keywords, and all of those keywords are based on Amazon. So they all come from Amazon autocomplete and different ways how we can generate keywords from Amazon. But those are all research terms used by Amazon sellers. So they are not coming from Google Suggest or any other search engine. Okay, and so what we did with Sonar essentially, so we built up this huge database of 100 million or 180 million keywords, and we started to crawl all those keywords for all the different marketplaces, right? And based on this database, we now allow 4 different ways how you can actually research keywords. Okay.
So let's talk about those. Let's go through that, because I've got some notes here actually, because I've been spending a lot of time with the tool. So let's start with going through all the different features. Talk to me about how the language input works.
So the interesting feature that we have is what we call the translate feature. So essentially what you can do is you can enter a keyword in your native language. So in your case, it would be English, right? And then you can choose the output language, right? So if you want to sell products on the German marketplace and you only speak English, you can enter an English keyword. And then you can get the results in German, right? So you will get an output of German keywords. Okay, so that's and again, those keywords, those suggestions are all based on Amazon only. So they are not again coming from any Google Translate or anything. This is all just pure Amazon keywords, and so very easily, starting from an English word, you can get a long list of related German keywords. And again, all Amazon keywords. So the next step then would be, so once you have this list of German keywords, obviously you still don't know what those words are. I mean, you trust us that we give good recommendations, but you still don't know exactly what those keywords are. So what you can do now in Sonar is you can just click on a keyword, and we will display you all the relevant products that are ranking for this specific keyword in the target market, right? So on the German market, and then out of those products that we show you, you can just click on the product, and we will do what we call a reverse ASIN lookup on this product, again in the target market, so in the German market, and you will get a list of all the keywords that this product is ranking for. Okay. So very easily, starting from an English word, you come up with a list of German keywords. For each keyword, you can get a list of the products that are ranking, the top ranking products, in fact. And then for each of those products, you can get a list of keywords that this product is ranking for. And this is, I feel, a very easy way. I could do keyword research in Italian. I don't speak Italian. I do speak French and German and a little bit of Spanish, but I don't speak Italian. And I could do Italian keyword research very easily using this process.
Yeah, and so with this in mind, is like we've just kind of jumped into the ASIN reverse lookup. There's no need to buy credits. There's no limits to how many ASINs that you can do the reverse lookup on.
No, exactly. So the goal for us was to create a tool that is just very easy to use and that is free, right? So obviously, I mean, we use it to promote Celix a little bit, but I feel it's just a great contribution to the entire community. Yeah. So we don't charge anything. So the tool is 100% free. There are no restrictions, no limitations, no credits, no nothing. So you could perform 1,000 reverse ASIN lookups a day in different marketplaces.
But you'll be paying the bills on the database for that, won't you? But what about extended? There's another feature there, extended. Do you want to talk me through what that does?
Sure, absolutely. So maybe let's start with the keyword feature, because that's easier than to.
Let's go through all the steps. Sorry. Yeah.
So the translate feature again is if you start in a different language, but so you can also you can just search in the native language or in any language. So we have 3 different ways how you can search for keywords. The first one is just a simple keyword research, and essentially what we do there is, if you enter a keyword, we will give you a list of keywords that all include the keyword that you were searching for. So if you're searching for, garlic press, right? Mm-hmm. We will give you a long list of keywords that all include the 2 words garlic and press. Yeah. Okay. So think of it as a very comprehensive autocomplete search, mm-hmm. right? So it's not just the 10, but it's essentially all the words that are out there, including those two words, right? So that's a keyword search. The advantage is that, obviously all the results include the keyword that you were searching for. The disadvantage of this is that you don't get synonyms, right? Mm-hmm. So if you're searching for, let's say apple slicer, for instance, or let's say barbecue gloves, right? You wouldn't get grill gloves. Mm-hmm. Because grill gloves doesn't include barbecue gloves, right? So you wouldn't get those. So this is why we have created the extended feature. And the extended, essentially, the main difference between keyword and extended is that in the extended search, you will also get synonyms. Yeah. Okay. So you will get a much longer list. Now, obviously, there will be some words that are not as relevant anymore. We try to give you the most relevant keywords in the extended search. But naturally, by just going a bit broader, there might be some synonyms that are not as relevant anymore. But so that's the main difference, right? So keyword will just give you an extension of the word that you've been searching, whereas extended will actually give you an extension, but also on top of it, synonyms.
Yeah. Then the next step we discussed, which is the ASIN, reverse ASIN lookup.
Yeah, so the reverse ASIN lookup is works a bit differently. So instead of entering a keyword, what you do is you enter an ASIN, right? So typically you either take a competitor's ASIN or just a bestseller ASIN, and you just enter the ASIN in the search bar, and then you click on search, and then it will give you a long list of all the keywords that this product that you've entered in the search bar is ranking for. Yeah. Okay, and that's obviously you just you kind of free ride on your competitors, and this obviously gives you great results.
Yeah, no, that sounds good. And in terms of the data, obviously, the information that you're getting is obviously you're generating this information from Amazon online and starting to build up, because there's a function on there for search volume to give you an indicator of how popular these were. So if you don't mind sharing, not the algorithm, but how that feature works, like how are people knowing that keyword is, or that search term is going to be of substantial search volume?
Well, so Sonar is definitely not the only keyword tool, right? Yeah, there are many others out there, and also some are providing, keyword search volume for Amazon. Yeah. And so, the huge problem is that Amazon doesn't give you any indication for search volume. And all the tools that I know, at least from my understanding, is what they do is they start with the Google search volume, and they kind of adapt it. And they have this formula to adjust it for the Amazon search volume. Yeah. Now, we feel that this is not giving you good results, because it's not like you can say Amazon just have a tenth or a fifth or so of the search volume that you have on Google. But in fact, what we see is that some keywords are they have a way higher search volume on Google, and others have a way higher search volume on Amazon. So you cannot just take a ratio and just transfer it from Google to Amazon. Yeah. So this is why what we have done essentially is we have created an algorithm that measures popularity. So I need to be careful here. I don't want to give too much information, obviously, right? No. But essentially, what we do is we identify, or we measure the popularity of a keyword compared to other keywords. Yeah. So what we cannot tell you how many times this keyword is searched. Yeah. But we can tell you if one keyword is searched more often than another keyword. We can tell you if it's more popular than another keyword, right? Yeah. So essentially what we can do with this is we can rank all the keywords, right? So we have those, I think in the US we have 110 million keywords or so. So we can rank those 110 million keywords. Yeah. And then so based on the ranking, we have defined 5 different categories. So we have this bar indications, right? So 1 bar is the lowest. That would mean, a rather low search volume, and 5 bars is the highest. That would mean, a very high search volume. And so, we can give you a very precise indication. And I don't know if you've tried it, but, at least, whenever I look on those results, from my gut feeling, it makes sense. The huge keywords typically have a very high search volume.
You also see a common, I think people understand is that these tools are used as guidance. It's a bit like product research tools. It's not an exact science. It's not the direct data. But what people do is need to make their own assumption from that. What it's doing is giving a bit of weight towards a direction for you to look at. Now, one of the main things I do is that if I'm looking at a competitive arena, if you like, and then I've got a series of keywords, if most of these guys have got these keywords in their title on page 1, it kind of shows, it's a bit obvious that's you can't necessarily tell the session, the search volume, but you get an indicator like this is the hot keyword for these kind of products if they're bestsellers and stuff like that.
Yeah, great way. I mean, certainly, competitive research is certainly always good. I mean, the kind of the danger here is that everyone is following. It's like following the herd, right? So if someone is doing a mistake, then everyone is kind of doing their mistake. But it's certainly a great way to validate your hypothesis in some way.
Yeah, definitely. There's nothing going to replace the real data that you get back into your business reports and your PPC data, but you need a framework to work from, to have a start basis to know that you're navigating into the correct direction. So let's talk about so for instance, let's just say you're starting out fresh. We've kind of gone through all the features of the tool and everything else. Now people going to need to be able to use the tool. They need to be able to go to say Amazon.de. Now how would they start that? Now we can look at, we want to do say competitive research now. So if we combine what we can do with the tool with the cross-border in terms of language, so maybe we could look at having Google Translate. So you'll see it in the browser. You maybe find the categories that you want to search in, for instance, but then go back to the tool to generate the German, for instance, versions of the search terms, and then bring them over to search. How would you suggest people work?
So you mean for the listing creation, or you mean for PPC?
So at the very beginning, right? You're doing your initial keyword research in that marketplace, right? But you don't speak German. You're English speaking, but somehow you want to see what the competitor's doing. Now we can look at using a reverse async lookup, which is going to pull the keywords, but then we're going to have to play around with, well, what do they mean in English? And it's that jumping back and forward. What would you say is a good way of doing that?
Find a starting keyword, right? So if you have your English keyword, you need to find a starting keyword in German in this case, right? Yeah. And I think for this step, this is the translate feature on Sonar is exactly the right thing, right? Yeah. So you can get started with your English keyword, and as a result, you get the German keyword out of it, right? So I think this is certainly a good way. Personally, I had some bad results with Google Translate. I don't know how you feel, but I think that Google Translate is actually it's amazing if you have longer text. I'm really fascinated by it. But I think specifically if you're talking about keywords for product research, I think they don't do a very good job, right? Yeah. So you start with the English word. You use Sonar to translate the English word into the German word. Yeah. Then you just, again, in Sonar, you can click on this German keyword, and you will get a list of all the relevant products that are ranking for this keyword. Yeah. And then again, you can just click on the image of the product. So it's not just the title of the product; it's actually the image. This is why we've put the image up there, so that even if you might not know how a garlic press is called in German, but if I show you an image of a garlic press, you will know what it is, right? So you can just click on this image, and then instantly will pop up a list of all the keywords that this product is ranking for. Now the thing is, that the results there are still in German, so you still don't know what they mean. And then in this case, then obviously I would suggest that you use Google Translate, open Thesaurus, or there's some.
Let's look at why we use Google Translate. It's not because we want to put these words in the listing. We only want to use them to get a context of what the word means. And I know there's obviously variations of what could happen there, but that data is like, imagine you've got a list of keywords. You're never going to remember what they are in German. So in your column 2 in your spreadsheet, you want to kind of know what the English meaning is, even if it's not exact. You go, oh yeah, it's that keyword, just for the reference point,
Yeah, I think that's a great idea, and obviously, we've been thinking, and we've also discussed this obviously in previous talks, that it would be great if actually Selix, because that's the last step that's missing in Selix, right? You can come up with a great list of German keywords, but then you still don't, you just want to get this feeling. It's just this basic understanding. Yeah. So we are thinking about ways how we can actually show you what this word means in English. And that would then then you could just do the entire process in Sonar. So right now you would need to go back and forth between your favorite translation tool, maybe Leo.org, for instance, is one that I like a lot. But obviously also Google Translate and everything. But I totally understand that you do want to have a rough idea of what this word means, even though it's not 100%. You want to be, if I'm searching for garlic press, you want to know which word is the garlic, and you want to know which one is the press, right? So if they give you Knoblauchpresse, right, you want to know presse is the press and Knoblauch is the garlic, right, in German.
Well, and then the other things which are a bit deeper is dealing with glass and glasses. And there's two types of glasses, like your spectacles and the glasses you drink from, and stuff like that. You're not going to be able to manage. But the idea is trying to get people 75% of the way there of self-managed campaigns for the European marketplace before they're making real money. Well, then they can hand it off to an agency. Then it doesn't matter, does it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, once you reach a certain point, but I feel that a lot of sellers, specifically the smaller ones, they are just scared of going international because they feel it's such a huge challenge. Yeah. And I think given tools like Sonar, but also given some VAT service and everything that's out there, I think it's totally feasible. And I think actually the opportunity. I mean, the question for you is always when you want to grow your business, right? So let's say you've reached kind of the maximum in sales in your home country, right? So you want to grow your business, you essentially have two options, right? So either you expand your selection, right? Find new products, source them and everything, or you just take the same product and bring it internationally, right? And I feel that right now what a lot of sellers are doing is instead of going international, they would rather source a new product because they feel that this is the more convenient way. Yeah. But I think that, it has a lot of advantages going international because first, obviously, you just increase the sales volume on this one product. So in terms of sourcing, you can get better rates because you just take larger quantities. You don't have the risk of having too many different products. You don't need to do you don't need to handle too many different listings and all this kind of stuff. So I think it has a lot of advantages of going international. Yeah. Especially because on the European marketplace, at least, there are a lot of places where competition is just compared to the US marketplace, it's just a joke, right? Yeah. I mean, competition is there's almost no competition. Yeah. And so it's very easy to get good rankings there, right? So I feel it's attractive, and I feel that it's not so difficult. It's not as difficult as probably especially smaller sellers might think.
Yeah, I mean, from me, where traveling around and speaking at different places and meeting a lot of sellers and different people and stuff. One of the biggest things the barrier for people is that they hate the fact that there's VAT. Yeah. And they don't want anything to do with it, and there's been a lot going on with the VAT thing in the UK where people have summoned the government regarding, say, Chinese sellers because some of them have given fake VAT details and stuff like that. So there's been a big crackdown. So I think that's one of the biggest barriers that people outside the language barrier, I think people outside of Europe look at the taxes and gone, I don't want that. That seems like a big headache to me. But what's quite interesting is that in the US, sales tax is the most convoluted, confusing, unimaginative tax legislation. It's just crazy over there. It's just out of control.
Yeah, that's exactly what I wanted to say. Is that the sales tax, VAT is a nightmare, but for us as Europeans, sales tax is. Personally, I think it's even worse because you have 50 states, right? In the EU, at least if you sell on Amazon, you have 5 states, right? And there you have 50, and then you have the nexus, and are you even? I mean, it's just crazy.
And all the people that are registered in all those states where they don't sell anything yet, and then they're generating zero returns, for those states. It's just, it's a world of pain. So I think if people got to grips with the VAT system, worked out a strategy, I think it's good opportunity for them to come to Europe, especially Germany. I mean, what's the lineup of the marketplaces? You've got US, then Germany, then the UK, and then just behind that is Japan, I think.
Japan, yeah. And then so afterwards, Amazon doesn't release any specific numbers anymore. But for sure, I mean, the Spanish, Italian, and also the French marketplace. I mean. If you combine those marketplaces, I feel that. So let's say that. Germany is roughly in terms of volume is roughly 20% of what the US is, right? UK is almost as big as Germany. So let's say Germany plus UK together is like 35%, and then if you add the remaining European marketplaces, I'm pretty sure you can get up to 60-70% of the US search volume, right? Or sales volume, right? So that's significant, right? If you can improve your sales by 70% on one product, I mean, that's massive, right?
Yeah, I mean, once you've navigated it, I think what happens is people also, what they do is, because of the barrier of the language and stuff, they set up internationally, they make the listings, but they don't put the work into it, because it's like their days divided into like their US marketplace. And then they might go, yeah, UK, and then they think, oh yeah, I've got to optimize for Germany. I'll do that next week. So sometimes it can fall behind, but having the access of the right data and information for building out PPC campaigns is going to be making it a lot easier. So let's talk auto and manual campaigns. I mean, maybe you'll save another session to go in depth with this, but let's talk about comparisons. You know, people know they're advanced sellers that check into seller sessions on a weekly basis, so they don't need to know the difference between the two. But how do they differentiate in terms of auto campaigns, say in Germany, and manual campaigns in Germany to the UK and US? Is there any differences there?
Well, no, essentially there is no difference. So the setup is exactly the same, and I feel that this is a huge advantage, right? The setup is exactly the same. In fact, so for the European Seller Central, so maybe for US listeners, the way it works is that you have one Seller Central account for all your European activities. And so within Seller Central, you can just through a drop-down, you can switch between the countries while still keeping the language of Seller Central in English, right? So the interface is exactly the same that you have in the US, and so you just go on campaigns, and you have the exact same process. Everything is in English. Essentially, the only thing that you need to do is you need to enter the keywords in the language of the market that you want to do. That you want to do research for, that you want to market, advertise in, right? And that's a step that we just discussed with Celix, right? Or with Sonar, sorry. And so, I feel that you have the exact same mechanisms. You can use the exact same strategies. The navigation is done in your native language. The only thing you need to do is you need to enter the keywords in the target language. And we've just discussed the way to do this. So I feel that whatever strategy you have, and I think that having auto campaigns and manual campaigns at the same time and everything, this is certainly the best strategy. You can just take them and just copy and paste them onto the German, Spanish, and so on marketplace. It's exactly the same.
Cool. And so in terms of optimizing the campaigns now, so for instance, let's say we run an auto campaign. We know how ragged an auto campaign can be. And then we've got, say, our underperforming keywords for our manual campaign. How would we manage that? Let's say, you're on the Spanish marketplace, you've got a month's worth of reporting. How would we utilize maybe the tool and back and forth to kind of work out what are the winners and losers, apart from looking at the basic data? How do we put the context around the keywords? Well,
again, so I think the best way to get an idea of the context is just take the keyword, and then you can either enter it in Amazon or you enter it in Sonar. Just search for it, and you just look up what products are showing up. Okay, and if those products look similar to your product, then it's probably already a good indication. If you have completely different products showing up, then I think this is already a strong signal. Apart from that, again, I think you can still use either Sonar or any translation service to get an understanding whether the keyword in terms of meaning is actually the same, right? So if you, I think this is particularly relevant for colors, right? So if your auto campaign is targeting a keyword that includes blue, right? But you're selling a green product, then you just want to make sure that you get the blue color out of your keywords, or you add them to negative, so that you don't show up for the wrong colors, for instance, right? So I think that there's still a little bit of manual work included there. Again, we're thinking about ways how we can give a better how we can give a translation. So that's in the Celix tool then, but to give a translation for those keywords that you sell internationally, because this is just the biggest problem. I think looking at the data, and ideally this is what you want, right? Ideally you want to look at the data, and just based on the data you want to make a decision, right? But I mean, we all know it, right? That this is not working 100%. You always you just want to get an understanding of.
Well, we had a conversation, didn't we? I said to you, wouldn't it be great if we could hover over the individual search terms in, say, German, and they give us the English meaning? But we discussed that the Google Translate tool is just not it's not predictable enough in terms of getting it right, isn't it? There's a high failure rate.
Well, yeah, that's the thing, right? So this is what we've been testing here in at Celix, and the maybe we're just gonna do it and see for the feedback that we get, because the question is, what's the alternative, and if the alternative is to spend 3 hours to just copy and paste stuff and get a rough understanding, maybe people will say, you know what, I'd rather go with 70% Google Translate results, but I see them instantly, instead of going to maybe 95% but doing it manually and spending a lot of time there.
Because you could,
but
I
love the idea. I think when you talked when we talked about it, and you just had this idea, I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, because I mean, if people can hover over the keywords and then have a radio checkbox next to it, you can select the ones that you want, because you can download already, can't you? So
yes,
you might
absolutely.
find of all the suggested keywords, there's only 3 of them that are relevant. So if you mouse over those keywords, you can go, okay, I'll take that one, and that one, and they're the ones that download. And which I didn't mention, which could be nice, and I don't know if it's possible, but imagine you download the spreadsheet and it has the English translation in column 2.
Yeah,
so
I mean,
just doing stuff on the fly here. But yeah, no, I'm really pleased with finding a tool. Like, I didn't know that when we were talking about you coming on the show, I wasn't aware of the tool, and when I had to play with it, I was like, right, okay, the audience needs to know about that, because it's one of my biggest bugbears for 2 or 3 years is, how do we do this cross-border thing? It's been one of the biggest challenges, and I'm thinking we're now starting to head in the right direction. So hopefully, the audience.
I'm gonna talk to my team about this, because I feel that there's an API out there. So why not just do it very quickly and see how the reaction is? So I think this is certainly a good point.
Yeah, and maybe some of the audience can feedback as well to you. So what is the best way to reach you? Have you got an email address in people got questions? And
absolutely. I mean, so they can just write me directly. So it's fj@celix.com. So F for France and J for Jordan and then Celix is SELLICS.com. And they can just write me. Just feel free to reach out to me. You can find me on Facebook as well. You can find me on LinkedIn. Any channel. I'm very open, and in fact, I'm having a lot of conversations every day, with different sellers, and jumping ideas back and forth. And so, just feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions there.
And the tool address is sonar-tool.com, is it, or?
Yeah, so it's Sonar minus, I guess it's called dash in the US, right? Sonar-tool.com. See, that's another thing, right? That even in your native. Are you selling in the US as well?
Yeah.
Okay. So do you feel that there are some differences, just cultural differences, different words that you use in the UK and the US?
If you look at like cooker and stove, oven, there's interchangeable wording that's used there.
Yeah, so that's also what I found interesting. Even if you're selling in the UK and you speak English, right? They might just use different words in the UK than the US. I think pants is a very common thing, right? So pants, and I think in the US it's a pants, and
trousers in the UK.
Trousers in the UK, and if you say pants in the UK, it means underpants or so. I don't know.
You might get some funny looks. Yeah.
See, and so even and this is why actually, because people have asked us, why do we have in Sonar, why do we have English, like a UK version and a US version, because it's the same language. And we told them, listen, I mean, in the US people just search differently than they do search in UK,
and things mean different things. I can't think of anything off the top of the head, but pants was a perfect example. That's a head turner in the UK. If you say to someone, I like your pants, they go, hold on, what's going on? So you have to be careful with things like that.
I think another one is rubber. So rubber in the UK means like an eraser. Is that the right thing?
Eraser in the US, yeah.
And and so in I think one country is rather condom and the other one is rather a thing. So it's again, I guess you could get some funny looks, as you say.
Yeah, no, definitely. But listen, thank you for coming on the show. Love to get you back on. Let's talk a bit more advanced PPC stuff next time, and campaign structure and optimization. But guys, thank you for joining us again. If you've not joined before, hit the subscribe button below. Friends, again, thank you very much for coming on. Guys,
thank you,
we'll
Danny.
see you next week.